Hello, this is Tim from Two Blokes from Blighty, and before we get into today's episode, we're going to hear a message from our friends over at Chat Tsunami. Take it away, gang.
Favorite red panda.
Welcome to Chat Tsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chat Tsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chat Tsunami, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe.
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
Stay hydrated.
Listen to Chat Tsunami, though.
Listen to Chat Tsunami.
When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, "Son, when you grow up, I want you to listen to Two Blokes from Blighty. I'm Joey Fitz. This is my brother, Tim Fitz. Tim, how the bloody hell are you doing?"
How did the dad know what Two Blokes from Blighty was several years before it existed?
Because he was a wise man who gave
sage
terrible
man.
advice. How you
I'm
doing,
good.
Tim?
How are you?
I'm all right. I had an eventful day.
Go on.
Eventful day. We bought a kitchen.
Okay. Yeah, I know you were. I know you were on about buying a boiler.
And we bought the boiler, Tim. We've had Kevin the Boiler Man round for a week now, sawing at the pipes and putting holes in the house. It's a wild time. He left last Wednesday, and it was only Wednesday evening after he'd gone that we realised he'd forgot to fill in one of the holes to the outside, so our kitchen had new ventilation.
Good. That's exciting.
It's very exciting, but got a new boiler out of it, which is... I mean, we paid for the fucking thing, so...
Well, yeah.
It's not that exciting, but yeah.
I got the thing I paid for.
Did you tune into Two Blokes for boiler chat? I'm not sure you did.
We always... Wait, no, that's your line, isn't it?
Did that really throw you off?
It did. I don't know. I went into such an autopilot then.
That was so weird, Tim. It felt like a quiz.
Pub quiz question of the week. Not a jingle. That's a sound effect at best.
What we have there is a fucking jingle, Tim. What's going on with the jingles?
Craig's really not having it. Oh, wait, no, it'll be Soundboard Bot.
Craig, it's Soundboard Bot, but we've called it this fucking guy. So,
Craig's not having
I
it.
think, out of respect for Chat Tsunami, I think fix theirs. Leave the rest to be quite funny.
All right, fine.
If people don't know the jingles by now, Tim, they're never going to know them.
No. Pub quiz of the week. I go through several questions until Joey can't get a question right immediately, and that becomes our pub quiz question of the week. This week, Joey, how's your science knowledge?
Poor to middling.
Okay, all right. So, first question, what is the chemical symbol for the element of oxygen?
Oh.
Yep. The human in the human body, what is the main function of the heart?
Pump blood around the body.
Damn right. What is the process in which plants can make their own food with sunlight?
Photosynthesis, motherfucker.
Damn right.
Look at all these plants, Tim. Think I don't know what photosynthesis is?
He has a lot of plants behind him. Which planet in our solar system is known as the red planet?
Mars.
Yes, that's correct. Which gas makes up the majority of Earth's atmosphere?
Nitrogen?
It is nitrogen. What is the scientific term for bending light as it passes through different mediums like air and water?
Refraction?
Is refraction. What's the formula for calculating the speed of an object?
Distance plus distance times time, something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that's not it, but that'll be our question of the week.
Wait, sorry. Read the question to me again.
What is the formula for calculating the speed of an object?
The speed of an object, is it distance plus time?
It's not distance plus time.
Distance. I mean, it's distance and time, surely. That makes ultimate sense that it would be distance and time.
I'm not going to confirm.
You can tell me that, because if that's the case, then I think I should get the fucking point. If not, I think you're lying.
Well, I'm not going to tell you because
just tell me.
No, like you'll find out at the end of you'll find out at the end of the episode.
If you've cucked me this whole episode, I'll be really fucking annoyed, Tim. And I mean really annoyed.
Oh,
I'll end it without saying love you at the end.
Oh, well, that's our pub quiz question of the week, everyone. What's the formula for calculating the speed of an object?
Distance plus time equals the correct answer. Tim, let's go in straight and do jokes.
All right. That's pretty funny, to be fair. That joke was weak. I misread that as that's the joke of the week. Yeah, the soundboard bot is not having a fun time this week.
No, it's not. But welcome to our Joke of the Week section where Tim and I tell each other, do you know what, Tim? Frankly, hilarious one-liners. But the whole point is to not laugh at the other person's joke. And if you crack the other person with your joke, the section is over and that joke is deemed the joke of the week. That feel good, Tim?
Oh, good. Sorry. The book, I opened the book again, and the first chapter it opened to was mental health.
Wow, this book is not woke, is it?
No, it's morally questionable.
Tim, I've got a bunch of jokes for you.
I have how many pages?
Thousands.
I have about 600 pages. So
okay, cool.
Whatever.
We'll just keep going. Tim, I'll go first. You ready?
Yep.
This is the one I said you might need to bleep.
You gotta laugh.
Does that mean that's the end of the joke section?
That's the end of the fucking Jesus Christ. Like one joke and we're not gonna hear it. Oh, bye, soundboard bot.
The soundboard just said that this interaction failed.
That's pretty funny, to be fair. That joke was weak. I misread that as that's the joke of the week. Joey, what's the joke of the week?
Is there any point in me telling it? Do you want to just bleep it?
No, I'll just throw a beep in here. Beep, thank you.
That was quite a quick ending to what is quite normally a bit of a time filler.
Yeah. Good thing
Tim,
Weird History is long this week.
Where do you want to go next? Oh, do you know what we haven't done?
What? Calendar
We
days?
talked about this week. So we're actually recording on a Friday, which is a bit of a rarity for us. But hear me out here. The episode is still going to release at its regular time.
That's interesting.
Regular day. 14th of May. 6 o'clock, to be exact.
In the morning.
All of our episodes come over at 6 a.m. UK time. That's good bit of knowledge for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But my question for you, Tim, is what day of the week is the 16th?
Well, today's the 9th, and you said the 14th.
Yes, sorry, I said the 16th then, but I meant the 14th.
So that's 5 days from now. No, it's more than 5 days now. It's hang on, how many days is that? It's not 7. That doesn't quite work. No, because it's 14, not 16. Oh, that makes sense. So I'm pretty sure it's 5 days from now. Wednesday.
No, that's right. It's a Wednesday.
Tim and Joey talking loud. Holidays that make them proud. Calendar check every week. Which day holds the peak? Valentine's is on a visit. Christmas Eve sometimes hits it. New Year's Eve can be found smiling on a Wednesday round. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Time to shake the mood. Celebrate whatever's there. Make the middle week up there.
You're about a second out on my singing for me then.
That's Discord, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Tim, I've got some days for you.
Hit me with them.
Not going to say exciting. There's one that I think will win. Shall I leave it till the end?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So we start off with National Receptionists Day.
Oh.
I feel like we get
Nah.
one of these every couple of weeks.
I feel like we do as well, like National Office Admin Assistant Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah.
No. National Underground America Day.
What does that mean?
Is
Is it like referring to like a music scene or?
No, it's literally recognizing the approximately 6,000 people in in USA who live in some form of underground architecture across North America.
It's a very specific day.
Very specific.
Nah.
No. National Buttermilk Biscuit Day.
Do like buttermilk stuff.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Before I start drawing on the mic.
National Third Shift Workers Day.
What is that?
So the third shift workers are the people who do the night shift, basically.
Oh.
It's also known as National Night Shift Workers Day.
Nah.
No, fuck them.
Fuck them. Who needs
Hey,
them?
they could listen to Two Blokes. That could
Not
be their
before 6
celebration.
a.m. They can't.
Well, that is true. National Decency Day.
Just being decent.
Being decent.
Yeah, being a decent guy.
Celebrates the basic standard of civility that everyone deserves.
Do we need a fucking day for manners? Is that what this is?
So, Tim, we're on to the last one. What do you think of
Yeah.
this bag?
Pretty poor.
Okay. What kind of thing would help change it? Something sensible or something fucking mental?
Something wild and exciting, like National How Fast Can a Dog Go Day. Something like that.
Well, Tim, have I got the day for you?
I'm listening.
National Dance Like a Chicken Day.
So underwhelming.
Really? I thought that was a good one.
You know, just because it was so fucking disappointing, I'm going to go with National Decency Day.
How do you want people to celebrate?
Just have some fucking manners.
Yeah, well, I think you should celebrate by being a total dick to people.
That's the antithesis of the day.
Do the opposite of the day. That's what I think.
Here's what we do. You be the most stand-up human being you can possibly be.
Apart from to one person. Just choose one person to be an ultimate prick to.
Until 12 o'clock. And then you flip.
Even if you're mid-sentence with someone.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps them on their toes. It gives them a taste of what you can be in both directions.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think do it.
All right, cool.
Okay, so we're celebrating National Decency Day. You decent people until 12 o'clock.
Until
Tim,
12 o'clock.
A couple of things happened in the news. We could talk about history. What would you like to talk about?
History might be a long one. Let's. How topical are the news things that you've got?
New Pope.
New Pope. Yep.
New Pope.
They set the old one on fire, and that's why we now have white smoke.
No, it used to be black smoke, but when he stopped, that's such a horrible joke. Maybe cut that one out.
Yeah. We have an American Pope, the first ever American Pope.
We do. Pope Leo the 14
14th.
millionth or something.
Yeah.
14th, yeah. His real name is Bob.
Yep.
Bob Prevost.
He's basically got Bob Priest as his name.
Bob Priest. But I saw a TikTok today of a family Zoom calling each other when they realised that Bob Prevost was the Pope because he's their mum's ex.
That's hilarious.
That is funny.
That's hilarious.
Tim, what's fun about Bob Prevost or Pope Leo is he's from Chicago.
He is from Chicago. Bears represent.
No, Packers.
Well, the Bears are the baseball team.
Doesn't matter. Go Pack Go.
Fine.
Just say it.
Go Pack Go.
Now say it in Latin like Bob Prevost will.
Vamanos, Packers, Vamanos.
You think Spanish is Latin?
It's close enough. It's European.
It's like Latin American. I got very good. Tim, you made a funny joke.
I did. I said that
Bob
Jesus.
Prevost.
Yeah,
So
I said that
can you do it now?
He would give a sermon and he'd talk about how Jesus was wicked pissed when he went into the temple.
Can you do it in the voice?
He was wicked pissed When he went into the temple and saw all the people selling stuff, and he flipped the fuck out of them tables.
So Tim and I were brought up Catholic. And when I say brought up Catholic, we went to a Catholic school and didn't do anything actually Catholic. We just chose confirmation names, which actually is quite funny because I think we have the same confirmation name.
Francis.
Yeah. Why did you choose yours?
I like animals. I think they're cool.
Really? I chose mine because I like Francis from Malcolm in the Middle.
Arguably the better decision.
But what I think would be really good with Bob Prevost or Pope Leo is if he did confession and someone went, "Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned," and he goes, "What did you fucking do?" And then he said, "Oh, I didn't eat all my vegetables," and he goes, "Oh, forget about it.
I'm preaching here.
I'm preaching here.
I'm leading the Catholic Church over here."
Why is it so funny that he's from Chicago?
I don't know. I just like the idea he's got a really heavy set Chicago accent.
He doesn't, unfortunately.
No, I would love for him to. That'd be so funny.
Me too. And I really love, the thing I really love about all of this is the Chicago accent that you do is not a Chicago accent.
No, it's closer to Boston.
Yeah. But Bob Prevost was my news for this week.
That's exciting.
Which I enjoyed. Any news, Tim?
I watched the Minecraft movie. That's about the most. That's the highlight for me that right now.
So I listened to Talking Smack when Alex told Josh that he walked out of one film, and the name of the film escapes me. It was on the one that they had recently with 4 movies. 4 things on the cover. One of them was this movie, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was. But Alex said he walked out of that and into the Minecraft movie, and he was so glad that he did it.
I didn't hate it.
Okay, let's dive deeper into that.
So there's going to be possible spoilers for the Minecraft movie if you're interested.
If you're a self-respecting adult, don't worry. If you're not, there are spoilers here for the Minecraft movie.
That's me. The framing device is kind of dumb. In that Jason Momoa is playing a failed former pro gamer, now retro game store owner. And cool. His car is breaking down and he owes a lot of money. And he goes to buy a storage unit because he heard that an Atari 2600 was in there, but it turns out it's the box. Yep.
Does he think, I'm running out of money, but I can mine it in the nether?
If I find a single diamond, I can trade it for an emerald, is what he thought.
It's a terrible deal.
It is a terrible deal. But and then there's the kid and his older sister whose parents are dead, missing. I don't know. But they move into the town, and the sister's like, "I've got to go work at the chip factory, where they make crisps all day or something." Oh no, it's potatoes. I think it is.
Tim, I stopped listening. If I'm totally honest with you,
I don't blame you.
Going.
And the kid is he's wicked smart, and he's I
didn't know the Pope was in the Minecraft movie.
he's in it. He plays a villager.
Nice.
So the kid is drawing a jetpack on a notebook, and the school bullies are like, "Oh, I bet you couldn't make that." And the kid was like, "Fucking watch me!" and he makes this fully functional jetpack.
Can you describe the whole thing as if you're from Chicago, please?
It was. I don't know any Chicago slang to describe things that are great. Josh, help me out.
Hold on. There's a tool called the internet that can help you with this.
Oh. All right. Well, all I'll do is I'll describe things, and then you tell me if you say would you say it's like this. So the bullies are like, "You can't make that jetpack," and he's like, "Watch, go on."
Bullies, jag off.
All right, yeah, the jag-offs. I'm not going to repeat it. He goes to make the jetpack out of school parts, and then the bullies just cut a cable, and for that reason, the jetpack doesn't work. And he's like, "Well, why didn't my jetpack work?" And he lost all confidence. And then, because the jetpack flies away and destroys the giant potato on top of the potato factory, he gets
Hold
detention.
on, are we still not even in fucking Minecraft world yet?
No. Jack
How
Black's
far into the
been in.
movie are we?
This is about 10 minutes in.
Oh, okay.
Right. Jack Black's obviously in there. He's in there from like right at the beginning. They make no bones about being like, Steve had an office job and he hated it, so he went to work in a mine and he found something that took him to Minecraft. Don't worry about it. They're very clear about the don't worry about it thing, which is actually quite good. I think.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. And so Giant Potato comes down and destroys half the factory, so the sister loses her job for some reason. And because she's only in there to run the factory's social media presence. Don't know why they need a social media presence, but whatever.
Tim, we're 10 minutes into a movie I've not watched, and I would already be thinking of leaving.
And the son gets detention, and he calls on Jason Momoa to be his uncle, and be like, "Get me out of school." And then they end up finding the Orb of Dominance, is what it was called, because Jack Black sent it back to the real world with his dog Jimmy, or whatever it was called.
Okay.
And they put it together, and it's pulling them to the mine. And the sister is like, "Oh, my brother's not home." And for some reason, the realtor goes, "I bet he went down the mine with the guy who runs the video game store." So they go down the mine, and then they end up in Minecraft.
It became a nonce hunt very quickly.
You should see the amount of YouTube views it gets.
See the amount of famous YouTubers in the middle, never mind.
So Jack Black this whole time has been in the Nether prison, being held up by a pig witch, and is in there with another giant piglin thing, and he escapes because the Orb of Dominance is what the witch wants, and she's like, "Oh, go get the Orb of Dominance." And so Jack Black goes and meets up with them, shows them around the town that he built with the villagers. But then a villager goes through the portal, and there's a whole side plot about him fucking the Polish lady from Two Broke Girls. I don't know what that's about, but over the course of 24 hours, she hits him with a car, they go on a date, and then they're in a relationship and falling in love. It's very weird.
I hate this so much, Tim.
There's musical numbers. There's 2 of them. Both because Jack Black is in the movie. And then they're like, "Oh my god, Jack Black betrayed us." And then they beat the witch with a bunch of like iron golems and stuff. And then Matt Berry, it turns out, plays the villager at the end. And he's like, "I am in love with this woman." And then the Polish lady starts speaking villager in a really cringy way at the end. I didn't hate it. Payne did. But I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I wouldn't turn it off.
Calling back to Talking Smack. Tim, can I just say, it's 9:15 in the evening, and you spent this whole recording drinking Monster energy drink.
Yeah.
Why?
It's been in my backpack for 3 days, and I kind of want to get rid of it at this point.
Drink it tomorrow morning.
Nah,
in
I'm
the
going for a
morning
walk in
when
the
you
woods
need
tomorrow.
to wake up.
Nah, I'm going for a walk
You
in the
can
woods
walk
tomorrow.
and drink.
No, I'll get indigestion.
Calling back to Talking Smack. They have their scale is must see or pass.
That's a very divisive scale.
It is a divisive scale, but it's for a reason.
I would probably lean towards the must see, just because parts of it are so absurd that they're actually like in a movie. Like a lot of the time, a lot of this movie is like, how did this make it to a big screen?
That's not a good thing, Tim.
But that's a good thing for me. I revel in those train wrecks and trash.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But you know, not for me. It's for 10-year-old kids and you, apparently.
I'm a YouTuber, don't you know? Should we get
what
weird
else was
history
I
out
going
of
to
the
say
way?
to you? Oh shit! Yeah, let's do weird history.
History. I thought for a second then we were going to get the whole jingle without an error, but then no, it had an error.
There you go. Did you see my magic trick?
I did. I saw a match. What are you lighting?
Candle.
Yeah.
It's not a magic trick. I was just literally putting a match out.
Can you do the thing where you lick your fingers and go tss on it?
No, I can't, and I'll show you for why really quickly. While it's not. Oh, that's no good, is it?
That's super bright.
Ooh. It's a wooden wick.
Oh, can you do it with a match though?
I wouldn't want to.
Oh, fair.
I don't play with fire, Tim. I'm not a bad boy.
No. All right.
I do have this, which is pretty cool. This came with the candle.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's got the striker on the bottom. Smells really good. Smells like, it reminds me of the smell when we used to go to Grandma and Granddad's, and because our granddad smoked a pipe.
Yeah.
The two things you could smell were pipe smoke and the match striker. And to this day, if I ever walk past someone smoking a pipe, I fucking love the smell. It makes you feel really comforted.
It's nostalgic to us.
It is nostalgic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the nicest smell in the world, but the smell of a pipe really makes you feel a little bit warm inside. The smell of cigarettes makes you want to vomit on the person doing it, but pipe smoke, elite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that's not history.
That's all right. December 1957.
Connecticut.
Not Connecticut. I actually don't know where this is.
Damn. Can we say it's Connecticut?
Let's pretend it's Connecticut. It's in the country where Connecticut is.
Okay, cool.
That works. Engineer Wendell Moore was testing a small rocket lift device in Bell Aeronautics hangar, hovering 4 inches off the ground. Wow. Moore improved the design, renaming it the Rocket Belt, and on December 29th, 1960, he conducted the world's first test flight, injuring his knee, and he stopped using the rocket belt.
That's quite sad.
Well,
sorry, 1950...
So 1957, he started at work on it, and in
1957,
1960, he conducted the first test flight.
So, sorry, in that time, he's managed to get 4 inches off the ground.
4 inches, and then 3 years later, he did a proper test flight and hurt his knee.
Well, that's all gone down the drain then.
Yeah. 27-year-old engineer Harold Graham took over the flying after this, achieving the first untethered flight in April 1961, flying 18 inches above the ground over a distance of 112 feet.
I mean, the 112 feet is quite impressive.
Yeah.
The 18 inches is a subway and a half, so...
Yeah. Graham performed public flights flying over a truck about 15 feet high, but he was knocked out after dropping 22 feet during a flight at Cape Canaveral. After this, new rocket pilots were regularly brought in as opposed to just one person.
Okay,
just throw more bodies at the problem.
Yeah.
Bell Aeronautics signed a contract with the USA Army to prove that the average young man could be trained to fly the rocket belt.
Okay.
19-year-old neighbor Bill Stouter was hired in 1964 and trained in mastering the rocket belt despite one incident involving a safety cable. He described it as being similar to that of a balloon being let go to fly around a room.
Oh no, poor Bill.
Around this time of the incident, the Army cut funding because the jetpack was expensive, had short flight times and high fuel consumption and a high injury rate.
Oh. Wait, hold on. The jetpack?
Yeah.
Is this just the start of the Minecraft movie?
It's not the start of the Minecraft movie because this isn't an Elytra.
Sorry, okay, fair enough.
Promoter Clyde Baldchin, I almost called him Bladeshin, that'd be way cooler.
Bladeshin. Although you wouldn't want to use the rocket belt with all these people getting injured and you Bladeshins.
No. He began booking the rocket belt for state fairs and other events such as entertainment. Bell received $25,000 per night to fly the rocket belt at the Calgary Stampede, and Bill Stouter continued as the main pilot, traveling around the world for demonstrations. Moore developed a jet belt powered by a jet engine, capable of flying up to 85 miles an hour for 25 minutes.
Wow, I like it.
Its first flight covered 300 feet at a height of 25 feet and went 30 miles an hour.
Pretty cool.
That's pretty good. Wendell, shortly after this, died of a massive heart attack.
I was about to ask, how did the pilot do?
He died in 1969 and the project was abandoned. After more than 1,200 rocket belt flights, Bill Souter, I'm thinking his name is Bill Souter. Souter?
How's it
spelled?
Souter.
Souter. Souter.
Souter, yeah.
Sota left Bell, but on the same day he saw a photograph of another rocket belt being built by Nelson Tyler, who is a Hollywood practical effectsman, who had seen a rocket belt in a prior demonstration and just became obsessed with it. So he built his own one, and Bill immediately contacted this guy, and they became a team. He flew to LA to help develop the rocket belt, and Sota became the main pilot for the Tyler rocket belt, flying at events like the NFL Pro Game and the World Fair in 1982. You have a question?
You said he flew to LA.
Not on a rocket belt. Presumably a plane.
What is the point in owning a rocket belt?
Well, so far the fastest one they can do is, granted, 85 miles an hour, but for 25 minutes.
That's fine. Just have some stops.
Have some stops and fuel up on whatever they're using at the minute.
Yeah.
Suter learned that the promoter Clyde Baldchin had lied about the payments and his insurance coverage for the previous events. Feeling he couldn't trust Baldchin, Suter quit and moved back to New York. Tyler recruited Hollywood stuntman Kenny Gibson to fly the rocket belt.
Okay.
An offer came in to fly the rocket belt at the Olympics, requiring a precise flight. Baldchin and Tyler asked Bill to return for the event, and Suter flew a perfect 17-second flight in front of a massive audience at the LA Coliseum in the 1984 Olympics. Tyler then received over 800 inquiries and later sold the rocket belt to Gröna Lund theme park in Sweden.
Right.
As a part of this deal, Kenny Gibson flew the rocket belt for the theme park. Gibson later bought the rocket pack for himself and brought it back to America. He tried using less expensive compressed air from scuba tanks instead of the already being used nitrogen cylinders.
That sounds like a bad idea.
It is a bad idea, and here's why. Gibson's first flight using compressed air for a commercial lasted 10 seconds instead of the required 307 seconds. He used 88% oxygen, which contained stabilizing agents that caused the rocket belt to turn and shut off mid-flight. Gibson fell, breaking the rocket belt and one of his knees.
How high did he get in 10 seconds?
I'm not sure, but it was enough to break a knee in the rocket belt in the process. After being hospitalized, Gibson then tried to sue the German company that sold the oxygen, as opposed to, him strapping it to a device it's not meant for.
Him thinking, maybe I shouldn't use compressed air.
The verdict led chemical companies to stop selling compressed oxygen to individuals, especially jetpack builders worldwide. Gibson repaired the rocket belt and started to build his own lab to make oxygen.
Gibson sounds like a fucking nightmare.
He sounds like unhinged. Gibson then brought in his friend Brad Barker, who was skilled in mechanics. Barker had been obsessed with rocket belts ever seeing the movie Thunderball, the James Bond movie, which featured an actual rocket belt. After a divorce, Barker moved west and began working on the rocket belt with Gibson. Gibson contacted an ex-friend. Don't know why he's an ex-friend. Don't know what happened there. Larry Stanley.
Fell out over a fucking rocket belt.
There's a lot more falling out to happen. He contacted Larry Stanley from a rich oil family in Houston. Brad Barker had previously loaned Larry Stanley. Oh my God, he loaned him a Senna plane. Do you remember the plane that was used in the Ford Pinto?
Oh yeah,
one of them.
Wow.
Which Larry ended up using for drug smuggling to flights to South America.
I like Larry.
Larry's out there. He added modifications and left Brad with a $30,000 bill that forced him to sell the plane.
Okay.
Gibson also had a falling out with Larry after investing $50,000 in one of Larry's oil fields and received zero profit.
Okay.
Gibson
sounds like a schmuck, if I'm totally honest.
I'm not a big fan of Gibson when I was looking into this. Gibson secured a contract to tour with Michael Jackson over $1 million by flying the rocket belt each night. He also landed a contract at Disney theme parks. In early 1990, while Gibson was in the Philippines, Larry Stanley broke into Gibson's storage in Houston and stole the rocket equipment, having also been obsessed with rocket belts since childhood.
Where are these people finding each other?
I don't know. It's a really, this is pre-LinkedIn. Brad Barker went to Houston with a friend to confront Larry at an oil field. They were met with a former Navy SEAL henchman who Brad's friend quickly dropped. So Brad's friend just like kicked the shit out of a Navy SEAL henchman, essentially. Brad beat the henchman's legs with a baseball bat until Larry arrived and agreed to take him to a storage facility. Brad recovered the rocket equipment and took it back to Los Angeles. Months later,
these people are awful, Tim.
They're all terrible, but this is the invention of the jetpack. Months later, at Disney World, with the rocket belt's throttle broke. Gibson asked Brad to take it to a machinist in Houston for repair, and while in Houston, Brad measured and recorded the dimensions of the throttle because he was planning on making his own. An old friend of Brad's, Joe Wright, visited Orlando, and Brad showed him the rocket belt, and Wright began taking detailed photos of the rocket belt. Gibson discovered them doing this and told Wright to leave, even though Brad remained.
Okay.
Tension grew between Gibson and Brad over Brad's son being constantly present for rocket belt flights. Gibson told Brad to send his son home. Brad refused. They had a falling out. Brad immediately left and called Joe Wright, deciding to build his own rocket belt for money, with Wright agreeing to help. They needed money. They needed money and reached out to Larry Stanley again, who owed him money for the plane incident. Brad discussed the potential earnings and the chance to get back at Gibson, and Larry agreed to fund the venture despite reservations about Brad's violent nature. Because if you remember, he beat a Navy SEAL with a baseball bat.
Oh yeah, I remember.
They formed the American Rocket Belt Corporation in March of 1992 and planned to improve on Gibson's rocket belt, although historically only Bell and Nelson Tyler had built previously working versions.
The American Rocket Belt Association.
Yeah.
I imagine that one was tricky to get hold of, the name. Carry on, Tim.
Suter, hold on. Hang on, no, I've skipped a bit there. In 1994,
don't skip any. This is wild.
In 1994, Brad and Larry had invested $190,000, mostly from their mothers.
Mothers are schmucks as well.
They incorporated the business, issuing stock with Brad as president and Larry as vice president. The rocket belt was finished in October 1994, and they contacted Bill Suter to fly it. We're going back to Bill. Suter was initially uninterested, but a videotape of the rocket belt piqued his interest. He visited the site, was impressed, and named the rocket belt the Pretty Bird. After initial test flights failed, though, due to a throttle issue, Suter provided detailed drawings from his time that he had at Bell. They made a new throttle based on Bell's specifications, and it worked. Bill Suter successfully flew the rocket for 20 seconds. However, an engineer who had built parts told Larry and Brad that he was skimming money from the operation, about $30,000 worth so far. Larry confronted Brad, who denied it. Larry let it go, avoiding a screw-up of the business, believing he could make more money later. Although they began arguing about who would fly the rocket belt, with Brad calling Larry a lard ass, saying only he would fly it.
Okay. Lard ass Larry, but yeah.
Yep. Brad pulled out Joe Wright's 9mm pistol and pressed
I really thought you were going to say Joe Rogan's.
Wouldn't surprise me. Brad pulled out Joe Wright's 9mm pistol and pressed the muzzle to Larry's forehead, threatening to kill him in Wright's office. Brad lowered the gun and told Larry to leave, but Larry stayed 10 minutes before actually leaving. And a few days later, Brad asked Larry for money for a part, and when Larry arrived without it, they started fighting. They crashed through a door during the fight, and Brad impaled his hand on a bit of wood, broke a finger, and Brad went to hospital. Well, Larry had got a large friend to confront Brad.
A large friend.
Larry, his large friend, and Brad ended up in another physical altercation where Brad had hit Larry multiple times with a hammer.
Don't like any of these people anymore. I did it first, but I've changed my mind. All of this over a stupid belt as well.
Brad had also hit the large friend with a hammer and kicked him in the head. Eventually, employees separated them and the large friend left. After the large friend left, Larry put Brad in a chokehold and punched him. Brad then punched Larry, knocking them both out. Larry,
Okay.
covered in blood, took photos and called 911. The police and ambulances arrived, and Larry claimed he was attacked, but the employee said that Brad was the one who attacked. Larry refused hospital treatment and was arrested for assault, signing a refusal form.
Oh my God.
Larry requested charges against Brad, leading to both of them being arrested. And at the jail, Larry regretted not going to the hospital and was taken for 6 hours, where his finger had to be reattached. And he received stitches and a CAT scan. He then returned to jail and was put in a cell with Brad, but they did not fight.
Oh, he's got a bad hand, so he
He's
shouldn't
got a
fight.
bad hand. Yeah, but why would you put them both in the same jail cell?
I don't know.
They were released the next
Infinite
morning.
wisdom, I think.
They were released the next morning, and Brad stated that the hammer attack ended their partnership. 2 days later, Brad...
Sorry, that's what ended their partnership.
Yeah, I mean, he was
not
hit with
the
a
rest
hammer.
of it.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
2 days later, Brad, Joe Wright, and a lawyer placed a lien, I'm not sure what a lien is, against the corporation for $12,000 in unpaid rent owed to Wright. Brad and Wright formed a new company, Duratron Incorporated, and the lawyer transferred the old company assets, including the rocket belt, to the new company for $10,000 claimed at public auction. We're still not done.
Okay, cool.
Brad took
Right, sorry, is the name of the new.
Duratron.
Duratron, sorry.
This is a way cooler name, to be fair.
Better than the American Rocket Belt Association.
Brad took the rocket belt and equipment from Wright's shop, and Larry filed a civil lawsuit. Brad and Wright resumed testing with Bill Suter, and during the test, the rockets reached speed of 65 miles an hour and 30 feet off the ground. But Suter found it difficult to control, describing it as a truck with a steering problem and calling it a disaster waiting to happen. Despite Suter's concerns, they repaired the rocket belt after a crash, and in 1995, Suter flew it publicly for $10,000 at the Houston Rocket Championship event. Didn't know that was a thing.
Hey, I like it.
Afterwards, Suter quit, though, because of the tension between Brad, Wright, and Larry and the concerns for the jetpack safety.
Okay, fair enough.
Where are we? Assault charges were against Larry were dropped, but Brad was convinced of Brad was convicted of a misdemeanor assault based on the hammer incident and received a suspended sentence. Larry continued searching for the rocket belt, preventing Brad from booking flights for fear of it being found. Brad repeatedly avoided deposition in a civil case, leading a judge to threaten jail. The civil trial was set for 1998 or 1999. Joe Wright was experiencing financial difficulties due to a decreased business, and having invested $100,000 in a jetpack, he filed for bankruptcy, increasing tension between him and Brad. Yes.
He spent the last however many years funding, testing, and crashing a rocket belt while fighting his business partner. Who on earth would think this man is going to make it?
It's a sound business idea.
It is.
Where are we? Larry, following this declaration of bankruptcy, sensed an opportunity and contacted Wright to help him find the rocket belt. Wright agreed in exchange for being removed from the lawsuit and received help for receiving help with his mortgage, but terrified that Brad would kill him if he found out.
Okay.
Wright was too scared to meet Larry and his lawyers in person, conducting the meeting over the phone. 3 days later, Joe Wright was found dead in his house, beaten beyond recognition. The sheriff focused on Brad due to the lawsuit and arrested him, but Brad had a unverified alibi claiming he was in Arkansas. Due to the lack of physical evidence and police errors, Brad was released. So we just don't know if he just killed Joe Wright here. He could have done.
Joe Wright, they're like, can't even recognize him. And the dents on his head are in the shape of a rocket belt. Who could do this?
It's a very specific buckle.
Yeah.
Other suspects included a bookie Wright owed $30,000 to, who had taken out a life insurance policy on Wright recently, like just prior to this.
Just taken out on someone else?
Yeah.
God, the fucking 80s were a wild time.
This is the 90s. We're in like 98, 99 now.
We were born, Tim.
We were around when this was going on.
Fucking each other up with rocket belts.
Another suspect was an employee that Wright bought meth from and borrowed money from. Both were known to be violent. Larry met with Wright's family, stating he believed that Brad killed Wright and threatened to kidnap, torture, and kill Brad if the police didn't act. Larry also got a restraining order against Brad and started carrying a gun, accidentally firing it once and almost hitting Wright's sister.
Wow.
6 months later, after the murder, Brad was arrested again for stealing a rifle from Wright's shop 5 years earlier. He spent 60 days in jail, but was acquitted at a trial due to a lack of proof of gun ownership. Why would he have the ownership? He stole the gun. Or allegedly stole the gun.
Yeah. Yep. Is he still alive, Tim? Are you worried you're going to get
He's
sued?
Still alive, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. The civil trial commenced in July 1999, but Brad did not appear, nor did the rocket belt, which was supposed to be presented. With no defendant present, the trial proceeded, and Larry was awarded over $10 million in total ownership of the rocket belt. Brad claimed he was unaware of the trial and believed Larry had stolen his mail. He stated that he would not give Larry the rocket belt, threatening to destroy it with a road grader.
Oh my God.
While court proceedings were ongoing, Brad secured a new investor, Vincent Williams, for a new personal flying device project shaped like a beer can, intended for promotional use. Brad also apparently mended fences with Kenny Gibson. The beer can flying machine failed to work, and Brad and his new partner, Tom Wade, began arguing.
Tom Wade?
Tom Wade, two new players in this paragraph.
My God, it never ends. How many idiots are there?
Brad started selling parts on the new project, and Vincent Williams, who had invested $400,000, pulled funding. Williams locked Brad out of a work shed, but Brad broke in one night with Wade acting as a lookout. Sheriffs and deputies, however, were waiting inside, having been tipped off by Wade, who was tired of Brad.
There is a Tom Wade who's an actor from Virginia, who's in Law and Order. That's where I knew the name from.
Could be him.
Could be him.
Brad was arrested for burglary, his third time in jail relating to jetpacks. He refused a plea deal, stating the equipment was his. Immediately after Brad's arrest, though, Larry met Wade, who took him to a rocket belt trailer, claiming to know it was in there, but the trailer was empty. Larry had taken the
Tim. My head is sore.
Larry took the trailer, considering it to be a part of the rocket belt's equipment. Wade gave Larry the keys to a storage unit where Larry found and took the papers and recordings related to the rocket belt, but not the belt itself. Brad then spent 72 days in jail, getting bail reduced, and planned to retrieve his papers from the storage shed in Houston, but found it empty. Larry then faxed Brad's mom, demanding the rocket belt in exchange for the papers. So he's holding this rocket belt hostage in exchange for paperwork to keep Brad in jail.
This has been going on for 50 years, right?
Yeah, thereabouts.
For a fucking rocket belt.
Brad refused, and in 1999, Brad was contacted by stuntman Chris the Flying Wizard Wenzel, offering a stunt job in the desert.
Oh my God.
Brad, needing the money.
Ends. Who trusts a man called the Flying Weasel?
Flying Wizard.
Wizards. I think my brain stopped working. Damn.
Brad, needing the money, took the job and went to California, telling his parole officer he'd be back in 4 days. As soon as he left the state, Larry called the bail bondsman, reporting that Brad had skipped bail, and in LA, Brad met Wenzel, who took him to his apartment where 2 other men were present. After a brief conversation, Wenzel pulled a gun on Brad and demanded the rocket belt's location. They tied and handcuffed Brad, interrogating him for hours, but he refused to reveal the location. They put a hood over his head, put him in a small wooden box, and drilled it shut. Brad remained in the box for 4 days, taken out only for interrogations, but continued lying to survive. They threatened to kill his child, knowing where he went to school, but Brad didn't give up the location of the rocket belt. At one point, they took him to a garage in the box, drilled holes in it, and threatened to drop him in the ocean.
Oh my God.
Brad cried and begged, but refused to reveal the location of the rocket belt. They did not take him to the ocean, and on day 6, Wenzel took Brad out of the box for a notary who was coming over. Brad was handcuffed to a chair in the kitchen, his hood removed, and was presented with a sworn statement giving up his rights to the rocket belt. With Wenzel pointing a gun at Brad's head, Brad signed the contract and a notary notarized it before leaving. Larry then entered, asking for the rocket belt's location, and left with notarized documents. Brad was put back in the box, but managed to get loose from the handcuffs and untie his legs. He broke out of the box, escaped through a window, and then ran for 2 miles before finding a gas station. He called his brother to check in on his son, called the FBI, telling them the entire story, and Brad helped the FBI search for the apartment.
Oh my God.
While driving with the FBI, Brad spotted Wenzel driving behind him, also looking for Brad. The FBI arrested Wenzel and found a, quote, death kit in his car. Larry and Wenzel were charged for kidnapping and false imprisonment, but were released on bail.
Tim, all of this is over a belt that fucking breaks your knees. It really is so stupid.
Brad's burglary trial was next, but the charges were withdrawn, possibly because Brad was threatening Vincent Williams, who refused to testify. In 2002, the kidnapping trial began with the defense arguing that Larry and Wenzel were acting as bail bondsmen and that Brad had skipped bail. The notary testified, which likely harmed her career. During the trial, both Brad and Larry seemed more focused on gaining control of the rocket belt and proving other points other than the kidnapping charges. So they're talking about everything except the kidnapping.
The kidnapping trial.
Yeah. Larry used the trial to try and find the rocket belt, and Brad tried to prove that he didn't murder Joe Wright. Larry and Wenzel were both found guilty. Wenzel received a reduced sentence of 6 years through a plea deal, and Larry refused to admit guilt and was sentenced to life plus 10 years. As his obsession with the rocket belt had led the DA to believe that he would commit further crimes to get it, Larry wrote a letter from prison admitting everything and apologizing. Brad felt bad for Larry's family, and he contacted the DA asking for a reduced sentence for Larry. The DA agreed, and Larry's sentence was reduced to 8 years. Brad, returning to his life, working as an electrician, hated it, and he vastly preferred building rocket belts. Brad then sued Larry for kidnapping, so we've just flip-flopped again.
I feel terrible for sending you to prison, but also give me all your fucking money.
Also fuck you. So he sued Larry for kidnapping, primarily seeking control and ownership of the rocket belt, reversing the civil previous ruling.
Brad, give up.
Brad had been hiding the rocket belt, moving it around to avoid Larry or his family. At one point, the rocket belt was stored at a friend's house in a backpack who wanted it gone due to the attention it caused. They planned to break the rocket belt down, seal it, and submerge it in a river, but decided to wait until the court case was over. Brad lost the kidnapping case due to a lack of evidence, and the judge held Brad in contempt for not responding to the $10 million judgment for not surrendering the rocket belt previously, ordering him to deal with the original judge. In mediation, Larry's family refused to release Brad from the $10 million judgment and give him a percentage of future profits if he returned the rocket belt. So essentially saying, if you give us the rocket belt, we will release you from the 10 million, but you're only going to have 50% of the shares.
The shares mean nothing, because the only thing it does is breaks people's knees, Tim.
Brad refused because it wasn't a 50% agreement. So they offered him a set of shares, but it wasn't half. So he wasn't interested. So the family walked away, and Brad then retrieved the rocket belt from the friend's house. Brad returned to the court without the rocket belt, still claiming he didn't know where it was, and the judge found him guilty on 3 counts of contempt of court. He was given 1 week to produce the rocket belt or go to jail. Brad chose jail and spent 6 months in incarceration. Eventually, when he was eventually released, he had to return to court with a new lawyer, Haynes, who he'd met while they were both in jail. So he's hired a jail lawyer. No one knows where the jetpack is at this stage, and Brad has never revealed its location. The murder of Joe Wright remains unsolved. Larry was scheduled for release in 2012, and despite this story, jetpack gatherings now occur and people are building their own flying jetpacks. But Bill Suter hopes they don't become commonplace due to the dangers of flying near infrastructure and for potential collisions. Suter described Joe Wright as the nicest guy, Brad as someone he couldn't say one good thing about, and Larry as a loser. The end.
Tim, I've had to recline all the way back as far as this can go, because There's so much stupid in that story that I need to lie down.
What was your favorite bit?
None of it. Like, they all started off as this is a wacky belt. And then I realized it had gone on for 50 years. 60 years. 60 fucking years. And all they've done is lost money and trick idiots into paying more into it.
There's a lot of kidnapping in this story as well. A lot of I know you've kidnapped me.
My head really hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good story. I would watch the movie. But
I'm gonna put that in.
My God.
I'm going to put that one down as a success just for how mad it is.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It should definitely make the success list. Tim, next two blokes. Let's go through the entire list.
Okay, of what I have, because I have lost some of the previous stories because I wasn't always doing this system. But yeah, I can go through.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be fun. Tim.
Yeah.
I brought very little to the table this week. You brought a whopper of weird history, but that does mean that our time is up now.
Yeah.
So let's do our pub quiz question, and then let's get the heck out of here.
Okay, so the pub quiz question of the week was, what is the formula for calculating speed?
Distance by time, time by distance, and time by time by distance by distance.
I'm going to give you 3 serious guesses.
Those were serious guesses because it's the right answer.
It's distance divided by time.